Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we'll be talking about Will Smith resigning from the Academy before the decision has been made by the Board of Governors or whatever the governing body is that will end up making up their decision as far as any type of repercussions for his assault on Chris Rock at the Oscars. I think that this does several things. I think for one, this definitely puts to bed whether or not this was a staged event. Not to say that it was not planned, and I think there's a difference between those two, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a bit. But also, too, I think it speaks a lot to exactly what is going on in Hollywood and the issues that are going on in Hollywood really being brought to the forefront and being brought to fruition through this story and through this account. So before we get any further into the story and my own thoughts on it, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification on. That way you know every time a video or live stream goes live on the channel. So I know that there are indeed a lot of people who have already made their takes known on this story and on their thoughts about Will Smith and whether or not they think this is real or not. And I think that this indeed does show, for one, of course, the Academy talking about how they were indeed going to meet to determine disciplinary action against Will Smith for this action. That was already an indication that this was something that was at least not planned by the Academy, or at least not planned as a part of the show. However, we also have a lot of video footage of the actual event from different angles, which does seem to indicate that Will Smith likely had some idea of what he was doing, as his wife is shown in one of the clips when one of the initial jokes is made to actually, be laughing, right? Actually, as the event is going on of the slap and reaction, seems to indicate her laughing in some instance. And so whether or not that was the laugh of a crazed person who was enjoying seeing someone get assaulted, or whether or not that was her being inside on a joke that may have existed between Will Smith and Chris Rock, who is to say? None of that has been actually put out there or has been confirmed by either of them. This does seem like, based on everything that we are being told, to have been a very organic event. But does that mean that necessarily this was something that was not planned in some way? I honestly don't really believe that, because let's just be honest, the Oscars have been on the decline for many, many years, and it's because of their own decisions. The Oscars have only themselves to blame for it. They continue to try and perpetuate political nonsense in their speeches, in their host, in their just their regular programming. I think a lot of this really came to a head, for me, back in 2008, 2009, whichever one that had, I believe it was the first lady at the time, Michelle Obama, actually from the White House announced the winner of Best Picture. I forget which year that was, but that to me was a year where politics and Hollywood just so closely united in a very clear way in the modern world, in the modern era, since I had been watching the Oscars, where that was my sign. And there were signs long before then too, but that was really the sign for me where I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. I can't invest my time in this anymore. As I've mentioned previously on my channel and on the live streams, I used to love the Oscars. I used to love watching them. I used to love being able to make predictions and all that kind of stuff. And that all went away very, very quickly as soon as it became very, very clear to me that Hollywood is indeed filled with not just a bunch of rich elites, which it's always been filled with, but those with a very clear, one-sided political agenda that they're so ingrained in that they are actually willing to literally bring the White House that they support into the very fabric of their show to announce an incredibly important, or what used to be an incredibly important, Oscar for Best Picture. So let's go ahead and dive into this story, though, about how Will Smith apparently has indeed resigned from the Academy. This seems like an attempt by him to try and curtail a harsher punishment. It would not surprise me if this was some type of deal that Will Smith made with the Academy, saying, hey, I'm going to step down. That way, when you come with your decision, you could say, we've accepted his resignation and he will not be welcomed back for X amount of time. But I did say this on last night's Friday Night Tights, and it's something that I do think is an important point to point out. And that is that, well, okay, he has resigned from the Academy. which means that that's just for now, meaning theoretically, if he's resigned from the academy, he can join the academy once again, or he can request to join the academy once again. So I would actually pay attention for anyone that actually cares. And I think that there was a really good point being made by Adam Krigler. Shout out to Adam Krigler, who was on the show last night on Friday Night Tights, where he said, okay, you want to know what I think? I don't care. And I think that that is definitely something that a lot of people probably feel about this story is, why should we even care whether or not this guy is in the academy or not? And I totally agree with that sentiment. I totally agree that we should not care about those inner politics that are going on. For me, and I made this point from the very beginning when I first talked about this story, for me, the issue was that it was a physical assault that happened on live television, and especially in the age and the era that we live in, that is what, of course, made headlines. That is, of course, what made the news, and that is what got around to a lot of younger audiences. Again, one of the first questions that I was asked this week after the Oscars by my students was, hey, did you watch it? Hey, did you watch it? Hey, did you see this? Did you see that? And heard countless comments about this event. And that troubles me because, for one, it makes, as a comedy, right? It makes as a comedic expression, physical assault. But then also it can teach, I think wrongly, it can teach kids that, oh, if someone is bad-mouthing you or someone that you know, hey, guess what? You can assault them and there are no repercussions. Because if anyone watched the clip or did any research into it after the fact, you know that he walked right up to the guy, walked right up to Chris Rock, slapped him, sat back down, and things just kept going on. And not just that, but that he actually even won an Oscar. He was actually given an Oscar after this event happened. Obviously, it's because the voting had already finished, and so it's not that that had any impact on it. However, that is something that they are going to see. How many of them are going to actually pay attention to him stepping down? How many of them are actually going to want to read if the Academy does release any type of official statement and disciplinary action? How many of them are actually going to read that and actually even believe it? Because they're going to say, oh, I don't see why this is such a big deal. Because in the end, guess what? If any other normal person had done what he had done, they would be in prison. They would have been put on bond. They would have had a lawsuit brought against them for assault. And what happens to Will Smith? Oh, nothing happens to him initially. It's not until there's actual, outcry from different peoples that they finally actually start to make comments about it. And then the comments and the apologies that they make don't really even really count as apologies. And then what you're left with then is a bunch of consequences that to most average Americans and to most average people in the world doesn't mean a dang thing. Again, oh, he steps down from the Academy. Okay, why is that a big deal? Again, no one's going to dive into that to see why that might be a big deal for him specifically. Definitely is not a big deal to me. It's definitely not a big deal to the vast majority of Americans, right? His being in the Academy or not does not matter to us. It does not have any impact on our lives, right? Even we could argue, any type of legal repercussions wouldn't have any impact on our lives. But at the very least, what it would do is show us, oh yes, we cannot go and just walk up to somebody for saying something and hit them and assault them and expect that nothing will happen. And that to me is what it comes down to. Again, I'm looking at it from that moral perspective. I'm looking at it especially as a teacher who has students who are looking at this event and are either finding it comedic or are looking at it and looking and seeing that there are no consequences for his actions. So as it says here, 2 days after the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Board of Governors initiated a self-described disciplinary proceedings against Will Smith over slapping and again assaulting Chris Rock at Sunday's Oscars. The, quote, heartbroken King Richard Best Actor winner, again, he won for King Richard, which nobody saw, today has preempted the harshest punishment that he could have received and left the organization voluntarily. Sources said Smith was told by the Academy that he likely could be expelled for a decade or more. That possibility prompted Smith, who has been an Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences member since 2001, to jump today before he was pushed in hopes of diffusing the situation. And here's what I think is going on. And this is where I think that there's this element of it being staged. The actual slap itself did seem to be rather, again, organic. And I look at that not necessarily because of the fact, as I just mentioned earlier. I think there's evidence to suggest that there was some knowledge of it because of the laughing or the seeming smirk or smile on the face of Will Smith, seemingly his wife also laughing during the process as well. But again, that could easily be someone just, again, in a crazed state, finding joy in that, which is its own problem, right? Which is his own sign and indication of problem. But I look at Chris Rock's reaction after the fact, and the fact that he was so taken aback, he did not know where to go forward with it. It was a clear disruption of the show's momentum. Makes me think that it was not actually a part of the actual show. However, I'm looking at this, and all of it does seem, especially when you remember that both of them are actors, and when you're looking at all this stuff play out, it's playing out like a movie, right? You got two actors, one slaps the other. There are these so-called disciplinary actions being brought against one of these actors. He steps down voluntarily 2 days later after apparently reportedly being told that he could be suspended or expelled from it for up to a decade. So what do you think is going to happen? What I think is going to happen, just like all things in the news cycle, is that eventually this story is going to go away. People are going to stop talking about it, right? Ukraine's going to come back into the forefront, or some other major event is going to come back into it and distract away from things that really matter. Obviously, this is one of those things that is distracting away from things that really matter, but I talk about it because I do think there is an important moral point and the impact that that moral point has on the youth of our society. And as a teacher, I care greatly about that and that impact. But what I think could happen is, okay, he steps down from the academy, things go in the news cycle pretty quickly. So what happens? Okay, he chooses to maybe get help, right? Maybe he chooses to get some type of help or some type of therapy. And then within a year or two, he does a performance in a film of a dramatic nature. And it's his comeback performance. And the news media runs with it saying, Will Smith is back. And then they have some type of event at the Oscars where there's this reconciliation between him and Chris Rock, or there's something. I don't think he's going to be out of the academy for 10 years. I don't think there's going to be any real lasting impact on him, let alone any actual lawsuit being brought against him, as Chris Rock has, again, decided not to file any lawsuit against him. And so what we're left with are, again, a bunch of Hollywood elites playing a Hollywood elitist game, and the American public are left with a person who assaulted another human being live on television for everyone to see, getting essentially a slap on the wrist. And I think that is something, again, he might be heartbroken, and for maybe an actor out there who's a part of the academy saying, oh, this is a bigger deal than you're making that to be. Are you telling me that Will Smith's not going to be able to get work? Are you telling me that the millions upon millions of dollars that Will Smith already has at his disposal is not going to allow him to even self-produce if no one wants to work with him? Also, do you think that people honestly wouldn't want to work with him with the type of attention that he would have? Also, do you honestly think that him and Chris Rock wouldn't together want to work and monetize this? Again, I think these are all valid questions. These are all valid things, and some are probably going to accuse me of monetizing the situation. But as I said before, the most important thing of all of this is this, and that is that a human being was assaulted. They're getting a slap on the wrist. What message does that send to our kids? What message does that send to the youth of our country? And in the end, all it does is continue to show why the Oscars don't matter, why the Oscars have become such a joke and shouldn't be taken seriously, and why y'all should watch the Wednesday Raven Awards next year because, hey, at the very least, we don't have physical assault and we just have fun, which is what movies were supposed to be, which is what the Oscars were supposed to be, and have for a long time now not been. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about any of these things that I mentioned in the comment section down below. I'm sure some people probably disagree with me and my take about it. I'm sure a lot of people do agree, at the very least, that it's not important. But I do think that, again, I do think that this assault should not go unpunished. I think that whatever a normal person, and I hate even using that expression, but a normal person, a non-elitist person, whatever they would have to go through if they did the same thing and the evidence was clear cut, I think that Will Smith should have to go through. And again, that comes to a level of fairness. And also, I think it comes to a level of, okay, let's, again, teach our youth especially, actions have consequences and real consequences, not, oh, you're getting slapped on the wrist, you're not going to be a part of the academy for an X amount of time, and then it's going to end up just going away. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Also, a reminder, no live show tonight, so no Welcome to Asgard podcast tonight, as I have family in town. Right now, they have Baby Thor out at the aquarium, so they're having fun with him there. Anyway, so no live show tonight, though, and I'll put that on the socials just to remind everybody. But if anyone does watch these videos to the very end, you also have a little bit of jump on that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Again, smash that like button, light that fire button. Honestly, you're all amazing. And beautiful people, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my April Patreon, Subscribestar, and Locals members. Starting off with Patreon with animation commentator Brandon, let's go Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Hymir Ari Hymeson, Inflamed Wood, Jacob from Holland, Jeff Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Priscilla Hall, Rosella Allen, Stan Andrian, Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Patreon. And also to my Subscribestar peeps, Matt317, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand 4, John B., Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And also a huge shout out to my Locals members, starting off with Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56. Also, UAB, Mad Dog, Mike Jackson, Robert Barnes, and also a huge support as well to Brett D90. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Locals. Thank you again to everyone for supporting the channel. Please, if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link at the video description. It is my Willow link, as I like to describe it, and it brings you to a link tree where you get access to all of these different locations, as well as all of the various social media platforms that you can follow me on. If you join at the Citizen of Asgard level, you get your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video. Army of Asgard level gets you that, plus you get access to a giveaways channel that I have on Discord. If you ever don't have access to that giveaways channel, please contact me. I do send out the link to the Discord and with the instructions on it at the beginning of every single month. But if you don't have access to that giveaways channel where I'm giving away 4Ks and Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff, as much as I possibly can give away is available there. Please just reach out to me and I will gladly walk you through the process to make sure you get access to that giveaways channel. And again, that is, Army of Asgard level, whether you be on Patreon, Subscribestar, or on Locals. Also, if you are the keeper of the Bifrost level, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We try and do it once or twice a month. I think we're going to try and do it twice this month to make up for some miscommunication that we had last month. So be on the lookout for that, and look out for those podcast Q&A posts that are always available on the Patreon main page, the Subscribestar main page, on the YouTube side of things as well. The YouTube community tab, you'll always find the podcast Q&A there, and also on the Locals page as well. And if you join at the Chosen of Valhalla level, the highest of the levels, you get access to all of that. Plus, if it's your first month, you get a free t-shirt, any t-shirt you want from my Teespring, my TeePublic, whichever one you want to get it from. You just let me know the size, location I'm sending it to, color, that kind of stuff. You get it sent to you. Plus, you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we all come together and just talk about movies and really anything the Chosen want to talk about, and it is a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you all very much for your love and for your support. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.